and welcome to the Flourishing Center Podcast. I'm Emilia Zhivatovskaya, your host and founder of the Flourishing Center. We are training the change agents of the world and equipping them with research-based tools for healthy, happy, and successful living, and we're so grateful that you're here. Each episode features 3 sections. First is the Science Says section, where we summarize a recent research study and show you how to put the science into action. Next, we give you a research-based life hack with simple strategies for incorporating positive psychology into your life for greater well-being. And then our Practitioner Corner is where we interview someone who's out there living, breathing, and spreading positive psychology in their own unique way. Learn about how they're growing their personal and professional work and get inspired with strategies for how you might use positive psychology in your own life. Thanks for listening, and let's dive in. Hello out there. I'm so excited to share today's podcast with you. In our Science Says, we're going to explore the impact of a writing about good things intervention on school children and discuss what this might mean for how we put positive psychology and positive interventions into our life. During our life hack section, we're going to explore this concept of positive thinking and what does it mean to generate happy thoughts and how you can become more efficient at doing so. And lastly, in our Positive Psychology Practitioner Corner, I will introduce you to Adam, a mindset coach that has been targeting young athletes in particular and talking about how we can use mindset coaching to shift our perspective on our world so that we can all become more successful. Let's dive in. Today's Science Says article is titled Happy Thoughts, Enhancing Well-Being in the Classroom with a Positive Events Diary. This was published in the Journal of Positive Psychology just a few weeks ago. Here's what they did. In this study, researchers investigated whether a 1-week positive thinking intervention using a diary would improve the subjective well-being in children from baseline till after the intervention. The research consisted of 606 primary school children recruited from 15 primary schools in North Wales. The teachers gave the students a consent form that they took home to their parents on a Friday, and the experiment began on a Monday. For the next 5 days, the children wrote in a diary that they were given, and the diary just had a workbook where they were allowed to color in it and draw their name in it, kind of personalize the diary. And then they were asked to write into each of the 3 boxes labeled Good Thing 1, Good Thing 2, and Good Thing 3. What they were asked to do is write down 3 positive events that happened to them that day and explain why they thought that positive event had happened. What they found is that after the intervention and 3 months afterwards, in 3-month follow-up, those who recorded the good things that happened had a significant increase in self-reported happiness with a slight decrease in depressive symptoms as well. Now, remember, when we say depressive symptoms, we don't mean that these children were depressed to begin with. It's just depressive symptoms are often used to measure negative emotions, to say, what was the change to negative emotions? What they found, interestingly enough, though, was that the intervention was most useful for the children who had the lowest scores on affect to begin with, or lowest emotional scores to begin with. Those who scored in the tertile, or the greatest amount of well-being, actually demonstrated a slight reduction in happiness across the intervention. This reminds us that gratitude and positive interventions like this are not a panacea, that we want different interventions for different reasons, and that there are nuances to what makes these interventions work. My guess would be that when children are already happy, that they might already be doing something like noticing the good things around them. And so perhaps maybe they would benefit from listing more, or rather than just noticing good things, getting them to be even more specific about what are the things that they are noticing. So maybe children that are already scoring high on happiness and well-being need to do more like 15 per day as a way of capitalizing on the things that they're noticing, because positive emotions and negative emotions impact us differently. When we're in a positive emotional space, we tend to be more curious, more creative, more broadened. We also tend to notice more good things happening when we're feeling positive emotions compared to when we're feeling negative emotions. Not only do we tend to be more likely to look for the things that aren't working. We are narrowed in our focus. So when you're feeling down, 3 good things might be hard to find. Whereas when you're in a positive emotional space, it might even feel frustrating to think of like which 3, and then it gets you evaluating, is this thing worth being in my 3, or is this thing it? And it almost gets you questioning your good things rather than being perhaps asked to list as many things as they can possibly think of that are good things that have happened to them that day. Obviously, I'm not the one conducting this research study. Perhaps maybe the people who do conduct these studies are listening to this podcast, in which case I would say that would be my recommendation around how we can further the understanding of the impact of positive interventions on well-being. Nevertheless, this is another great intervention being studied. We've looked at the impact of noticing good things on adults in the past. It's exciting to see this work now being brought into research with children, and it's a simple one that we can all implement. Just taking some time to notice what's good and what are the contributions to this good thing happening. Up next for our life hack, we explore this question of happy thoughts or positive thinking, exploring what is it really all about. Today's life hack is about how to think positive. Now, I'm not going to lie, I cringe every time I hear people say positive psychology. What is that, like positive thinking? This makes me cringe inside because positive psychology is the scientific study of optimal human functioning. This includes many, many things beyond just feeling positive or thinking positively. It includes the skills of resilience, engagement, knowing your strengths, identifying purpose in life, creating a greater sense of meaning. There's so many things that positive psychology studies way beyond positive thinking. But of course, the mainstream has gotten us very focused on happiness and thinking happy thoughts, and I'm grateful to take a moment with you to discuss. I'm going to call it a discussion because I'm going to assume that my giving you these words triggers thoughts in your mind and that telepathically I will receive them, or you will email me to tell me what you think. I am grateful to be able to discuss this concept. So if you think of positive thinking, I think the reason people have gotten so caught up on thinking that positive thinking must mean happy thoughts is because they equate the word positive with happiness. Positive refers to positive emotions, and there are a broad range of positive emotions that we can experience as humans. We experience positive emotions such as feeling a sense of caring for a person. We can experience curiosity. We can appreciate people. We can feel excited. We can feel focused. We can feel determined. We can feel optimistic or hopeful or elated. There are lots and lots of positive emotions that we can experience. So when we say think positive, we refer to conjuring thoughts that would conjure their adjacent positive emotions. So if I want to feel hopeful, I can think of thoughts that relate to the future of things that I want to see happen. If I want to feel excited, I can think about the future from the perspective of things I'm looking forward to experiencing. If I want to experience the emotion of appreciation or gratitude, I can think about things that I have received that are blessings or good things from others. So the key to positive thinking is to ask yourself, which positive emotion do I want to generate? Do I want to generate the emotion of love? In which case, I'm going to think loving thoughts. Positive thinking is not all that difficult. The key is to have primers in your environment that remind you to think of those things, because otherwise we humans, we are creatures of habit and we are wired to react to our environment, in which case, if we don't have things to remind us to think of the things that we're grateful for, things that make us feel positive, then we just won't do it. I hope you will help me do some myth busting around what positive psychology is and is not, because it is a broad study that includes all of human flourishing, and positive thinking is wonderful so long as you know how to do it. Hello, everybody. So great to be here with you and Adam Kulpa, a performance and transformation coach joining us from San Diego, California. He's going to connect with us about all the ways in which he's utilizing the science of mindset and positive psychology to support elite and top performers in upping their game. Something you might not know about Adam is, in addition to being a positive psychology practitioner with a wide background of experience, he has an affinity for whiskey and cigars, which I would say contributes to positive psychology and that it offers hopefully some savoring. And we're excited to have Adam here to learn about what it means to help people increase their sense of engagement and help them thrive through this unique approach. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Adam, tell us, how did you come to this work?
It's been a long journey. I've always been somewhat attracted to psychology, but it wasn't until almost my senior year of college that I took a psychology class, and the professor really challenged me on this whole idea and the stigma behind therapy and stuff. So the path for me was I actually went to find a mentor. I was later in life, and I was thinking about doing a career change. And my therapist said, "Hey," he was a CAP graduate. He's like, "Hey, you should at least explore this program. It's incredible. It's been life changing." So I started looking into it and found myself in CAP 35 in Oakland.
That's awesome. And you said you were making a career change. What was your previous career?
For the last 5 years, I've been doing finance and accounting work for a tech company in San Diego. And as much as I like being behind a desk and as much as I like crunching numbers, which I don't, I just found that a more rewarding life would have been really helping people. And CAP really helped me really explore my values, and it helped me find who I really was. And it's been an incredible journey over the last 2.5 years.
That's amazing. I celebrate your courage because I think sometimes people find themselves in these career paths where they want to make a shift and they want to make a move, but they don't really quite know what's available to them. Or, as you said, they might not even be aware of the fact that there are options, that there's another way of being in the world.
Yeah.
And so tell us, what is the way in which you work with people now?
Well, currently, I like to work with professional athletes and college athletes, and I work with some high school, but generally my focus is threefold. One, performance coaching for professional athletes, college athletes that want to play better on the field. The second is a transformation aspect of it with the same kind of clientele, where they are basically transitioning out of their current role. So, from my own experience, I have been playing sports my whole life. I have had good coaches. I've had bad coaches. And for me, the biggest struggle was when I was done playing collegiate sports, I didn't know who I was or my identity. I had a general idea of who I was, but really it was like, well, now what? Didn't have a lot of guidance, didn't understand, maybe you should pick a career now, and was until later, I'm like, oh, this is what's important to me. Okay. So I want to help people and athletes transition and find their identity a lot sooner, so they don't have to wait until their mid-30s to try to figure it out. And then the last aspect is I do non-athlete coaching as well, because I think there's a lot of parallels between the type of issues that athletes are having and the type of transitions that the athletes are making. It could be a career change. It could be, a relationship change for non-athletes. It could just be, you want to perform better at your job. So that's a smaller focus, and it's a case-by-case basis for me. Luckily, I'm able to have that opportunity to do so. But those are my 3 segments that I work on.
It's amazing, Adam. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm reminded of the positive psychologist Robert Vallerand, who studies passions. And he points out how one of the distinct features of our passions is our passions become part of our identity. So baseball player is someone who is so passionate about baseball that it becomes part of their identity. But if that's the only thing that's your identity, and you don't know where to begin to identify what other parts of what else am I passionate about, or what else might define who I am. And as you said, when the game is done, or when you realize that maybe that's not the professional route you're going to go into, I can just see so many people dangling and feeling lost in that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the passion for these players is unimaginable sometimes, in the amount of work and the amount of just full commitment that they put towards it. And then they get out of school or they try to go pro and it doesn't work, and the same thing with high school kids. They a lot of times they put so much pressure on themselves to get the scholarship, to get to take the next step, because everyone expects them to be that way. And then they just end up hating the sport and hating themselves. So I like to come in hopefully before it gets to that point, and fix it.
And your website is mindsetcoach.org, and you describe the approach to coaching that you take specifically focused on mindset. Can you tell us more about what that means and how you work with people on their mindset?
hmm Mindset is key to sports. It's key to life. And how I work with athletes is to help them raise their awareness. Now, a lot of it has to do with being able to regulate their arousal levels as well. But when I meet with an athlete, I like to go through either not just imagery, but visualization, and so forth and so on, to enable to get them to a place where they're more aware. So you can't just have your mind just reacting based on some sort of emotion, because you may be doing well during the regular season, but all of a sudden the big game comes up, or you've got a big meeting coming up, or you're going to need to make a life decision, and all of a sudden you have all these emotions and arousal will come up, and if not used to that, it can cloud your judgment. So that's just one aspect of it. I also am working on a workshop for parents, actually, to help with the younger kids earlier than high school, because a lot of the influence for these kids come from their parents. And so I like to work on just a very simple workshop that educates the parents on the difference between person praise and process praise, so that they understand that the effort is what should be praised, and not necessarily just the outcome. I think that's really important for parents to understand, um, just as much as it is for high school students and college as well.
That's awesome. What a gift to give parents, this simple process of teaching them how to praise. Parents want to do right by their kids, and so often it's just things that we're so not aware of. Like, I was told by my parents all the time, how smart I am. I should apply myself because I'm so smart. And I just remember hating when they would say that to me, because I would felt like an imposter. If I messed up, what if I wasn't as smart as they thought they were? Or I would be so overwhelmed by tests, because I feared that if I got a bad grade, it wasn't that I just got a bad grade, it's that I must be stupid. And it caused me to disconnect. And I could see how that applies to athleticism all the time, especially when parents have children who are in athletic sports where they want to encourage them, they want to cheer them on, but oftentimes nobody's ever showed them how. I'm curious, what other elements of positive psychology stick out to you as fundamentals that athletes would need to learn, or high performers would need to know?
Mm. The big thing for me, what I think about positive psychology is the first thing that pops up for me is gratitude. And I think gratitude is such a fundamental component to well-being, it's important, I think, for high performers, for athletes, for non-athletes, to have that gratitude every day. It's hard to be a high performer, someone who is creative, someone who is hardworking, when they are constantly beating themselves up because they're not in a good space mentally. And I think gratitude, which has been proven, the people who have gone through CAP will see all the research-based materials that are provided to you, that it's it's an overwhelming amount, that it's a simple practice of even taking 10 to 30 seconds. I do it every morning. Before I get in the car, I just created a new habit for myself where, what are three things that I'm grateful for? I try not to overdo it, so it does become a chore, but it just changes my perception. I'm thankful for the car that I drive. I'm thankful for the weather here. I'm thankful for, this cup of coffee. It could be as simple as that. And it just changes the day. And I think that's important for people.
I couldn't agree more. Gratitude is one of my top strengths, and I think it's one of the most powerful interventions I've ever learned about because it basically teaches you how to make your own positive emotions. So often we expect to have we expect that we need big things to happen in our life to help us feel happy or content. And when we're grateful, we are able to create our own positive emotions. We don't need more stuff when we're grateful for the stuff that we do have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think for me also with positive psychology, what I learned from all of it was, the major difference between, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. That was huge for me. And then identifying core beliefs and helping to challenge these my self-narrative. That was a lot of times it was on the judger path. And so, being able to raise my awareness and being able to identify my core has led me to develop this coaching practice, which is huge because it's something I've always wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. I thought I had to go back through maybe get my master's degree, which I'm still very much considering. But I can start helping people immediately with the CAP program that I did, and then I did the coaching skills training as well. And so I'm working towards my ICF credential, which I should have probably within the next 6 to 9 months. But I'm already working with people and making an impact, and that's such an intrinsic value for me. It's so rewarding that it just makes me happy, and so I'm going to continue to do it.
It brings me so much joy to see you put yourself out there because it's scary. It's a vulnerable field to work with people in this way. You never know what each session is going to bring. It's very different than finance and Excel spreadsheets. And it requires you a little bit, right? It's like, but this idea that you have the skills, you have the tools, you have the knowledge. And I find that so often people who are drawn to this work score high on love of learning and curiosity and interest in the world, which means that we love to learn more stuff and that many people hide behind the need for more trainings, or they hide behind wanting to read more, wanting to learn more, because there's this feeling, oh, I don't have enough, I'm not enough, I need more. And I mean, I speak from experience. This was me many years ago as well.
I bet.
And to recognize the difference between, like at some point I'll go back for a master's degree when it feels right for me, but I can start utilizing what I have and what I know now is a vulnerable thing to do, and it's a profound thing to do because, as you said, you see the impact that it makes, and of course you see the impact that it makes, and it gives you more confidence. But I feel like oftentimes people are waiting for this imaginary permission to go out and do it. And I always say no one's going to come and put a stamp on your butt and says, okay, you're grade A, you're ready to go in this industry, right? It's a very different way. And what I always say to our students is I encourage them to be driven by a desire to serve, because when you just focus on, I want to be of impact and I want to share this, it stops us from being too self-centered and too focused on the things that we're afraid of. So I see you embodying that in such a beautiful way, that you're being led by your desire to serve and not being held back by fear, or you're feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. That's a big thing. For me, and during CAP towards the end, we were doing some coaching stuff, and it was a lot of people, even our facilitator, Joshua, he even said, you never really feel like you have it all down, but you have to believe in yourself. And once I got through the courses and I felt like I needed to go through all my notes again, I felt like I needed to get an additional certificate. And then I started, doing more coaching practice with my classmates, and then I got some clients outside of my classmates, and then I saw the results, and they're positive. I don't need to know every single theory in order to make a change. And that was a game changer for me.
Absolutely. I'm curious, Adam, what are some of the mindsets that people come to you experiencing? Like, do they come in with this belief that money's going to buy them happiness, or do they have this belief that either you're good or you're not?
Yeah, that's often. A lot of people that I work with, they come with a fixed mindset, and a fixed mindset is something that's either a person believes they're either born with it or they're not. Like I'm a math person. I'm not a math person. I'm an artist. I'm not an artist. But so what I try to do is to help them understand that, it's not. There's two types. There's the learner path, the judger path, the growth mindset, the fixed mind. The growth mindset is it puts the perception in the mind that you can continue to grow and you continue to build, and you can be basically whomever you want to do or whomever you want to be, as long as you want to go that route. Versus the fixed mindset, which is I'll just give up at because I'll never get it. It doesn't make sense for me.
I love that. And I love that it helps the person focus on, as we said before, the process, which is, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And so it's not saying everybody's going to wind up in the NFL, but perhaps saying that if you want to, you're definitely not going to get there by
Right.
not trying at all, right? So how can we get them to focus on the process and see that there's a value to effort, that it's not just either you have it or you're cut out for this or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam, in positive psychology, we talk a lot about self-care. Our motto is self-care is healthcare. And you mentioned that you do a gratitude practice as one of your processes for self-care. I would imagine the occasional whiskey and cigar is also a self-care practice. I'm curious, what other practices sustain and nurture and nourish you?
Well, I try to meditate. It's a continuing struggle. I guess that's why they call it a practice, right? So I try to meditate in order to raise my own awareness. What also it's helpful for me at the end of the day is what I'll do is I'll reflect on the day and what I did, and then I'll try to think about what I need to accomplish tomorrow, and that kind of like puts me at ease before I try to lay down, because for me, I think sleep is really important, and lack of sleep affects your cognitive abilities. And so for me, if my mind is racing at the end of the night thinking about all the things I need to do tomorrow or all the things that I could have done better today, it just keeps me up. So I try to sit and just, even if it's like a minute, make it part of my routine. Just I don't have to write anything down, but if I wanted to, and I have before, but just having that practice has helped me get better sleep, and it's also helped me, accomplish more in the week because I'm more focused and I'm focusing on what's important to me.
Thank you, Adam. And before we wind down, I'm curious if you have any guiding life principles that support you in showing up in the world the way that you want to.
Yeah. I always tell my wife that, hey, you know what? Things could be a lot worse. Things could be a lot worse. And if you continue to tell yourself that, I think that, it puts things in perspective, because there's a lot of people out there who have it a lot worse than you do, So that usually puts things in perspective for me and us, and allows us to be a little more gracious and humble with the struggles that we have, because the struggles and the obstacles that we have are just learning moments for us, and they change us every single day and every single year into the people we are.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Adam. Adam, how can people find you if they're interested in mindset coaching or peak performance training?
They can go to my website. It's mindsetcoach.org. It's mindsetcoach.org. I've got a contact page on there. I've got online scheduling. I got a little bio about me and some pictures and so forth. And that is the best way.
Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing how all of this continues to grow and thrive for you. Thanks for being with us, Adam.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. And if you have any area of your life that you would like to life hack, or an area of research that you would like some more information on that we would put into our Science Says section, drop us a line at info@theflourishingcenter.com. Also, a special shout out to our partners, Live Happy. If you have not checked out what they're up to in the world, go to www.livehappy.com. They have got lots of free resources on their website. They offer an incredible print magazine on positive psychology called Live Happy Magazine that comes out every few months. And if you have not heard, March 20th is International Happiness Day, and Live Happy is doing some incredible things all over the world, uniting people around the vision of sharing and spreading happiness through a happiness wall, which we will actually have open for display on International Happiness Day in New York City. So check out some of the things they're up to, check out what we're up to, drop us a line. Thank you for listening, and I wish you an incredible rest of your day.